Hey guys, welcome to the Copynomics podcast. Today we have Amy Leifeste. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
Good. So before you got into copywriting, what were you doing? Like, what was your job?
So I was in sales and marketing for a Fortune 500 company, which was great while it lasted. But I ended up getting sick with a chronic illness and could no longer work there. So that was my previous job.
Okay, so to get into copywriting, well, you were looking for like kind of work at home stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So what happened was it was a very much like physical job. I was going to different stores often and visiting, stores with the merchandise, making sure everything was set properly. And, for a physically demanding job, when you have chronic illness, it doesn't work together. And so I ended up having to leave. And I was just kind of at my wits' end searching online for jobs that worked well with chronic illness while I got better. And copywriting was one of the ones that came up, and it really excited me because it was something that kind of combined a lot of my interests together. It's very creative, but also very like sales and marketing based. And so I decided to go for it.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool because so you accidentally fell into copywriting basically, and
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, that kind of happened to me too. Because
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was in a network marketing company, and
Hmm.
I failed at it like really bad. So, so I found a company that was taught me how to market, and through all the things there, copywriting is what I started to fall in love with.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of the story for a lot of people, I feel, with copywriting. It's just like either they got promoted into that position and didn't know what they were doing and had to just figure it out on their feet, or they found it through like either it's TikTok or like doing some searches of, freelance work. Not many people know what it is either.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you ask people, they say, "So what do you do on the side?" Or like, you know, I say copywriting. Oh, so you're putting them little C's on people, company.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
That's
Yeah,
what I do.
I've started saying I'm a digital content strategist to my friends.
I might have to say that too because I have to explain it every time.
Yeah.
So, I forgot what I was about to say. But oh yeah, so when I got started, there was this. I knew nothing about copywriting, and I just got lucky. There was this guy that was in the company. He's the one that got me into the company. That taught me about marketing for network marketing, and
Hmm.
he was doing a live video, and he said, "So what do you want to get good at this year?" And I said, "Copywriting." And
Wow.
he was starting a new company, and he needed a copywriter, and he taught me how to do it, and then hired me.
Wow. That's kind of the dream setup, man. I feel like a lot of us are dying for a mentor.
Yeah,
Nobody wants, most people don't have the time to devote to someone who's like, I think I might want to do copywriting. You know what I mean? Especially if they don't know you. So that's a great setup, and that probably puts you way ahead of most people.
yeah, and in their defense, if I'm looking for a copywriter, I'm not looking for somebody that don't know what they're doing,
I mean, exactly, exactly.
And
That's hard about it.
yeah, and the first call I did, she shared some really good stuff. She said, a lot of people do portfolios where it's kind of like mock up work that you didn't actually do, but it's like what you would do.
Right.
But she said to get some results for free and then layer the results on top of each other. So like the third or fourth copywriting job, you have like three or four results so far, and you can prove
Yep.
yourself.
Yep. I mean, nothing really speaks to your skill set like numbers with copywriting. Something can look really pretty and sound really nice, but if it doesn't actually lead to sales, then it's kind of worthless.
Yeah. So it's kind of like theory versus reality.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then me and that guy, we ended up parting ways because I told him, I said, I want to go on my own because he I was making $500 a month for him, which at the time, I was broke, and so I needed it.
It's funny.
But at the same time, every time I wrote a piece of copy, the client he was charging for it was he was making $10,000 off of each one. So
Oh,
and so
Robert.
I'll write three or four video sales letters a week.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not chill.
But I mean, it
Not,
was pretty cool. I was just doing over. I kind of got a little strategy where I could just do everything repetitive.
yeah. Yeah. Cause you kind of got paid to learn, you
Yeah.
know?
And he gave me like his whole. he had this big, huge white file. He just gave it to me.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, so at the beginning, when you first started copywriting, how was it? Did you like, were you good at it or did you
Man. Oh,
fail?
I was terrible. It was foul. The like looking, and it probably wasn't that bad, but you know, I look back on like my first piece of copy and I was like, did I think that everything had to be a sales letter? Like it was just it. I think I think there's a lot of really good resources. Like when you first start to learn on YouTube and TikTok and everything, but you never know who's actually experienced and has authority to speak on how to write copy and who's been doing it for a year and has made some money, but don't really know exactly what they're doing yet. You know what I mean? And I feel like I learned from people that didn't exactly know what they were doing yet. And so it was really a learning curve, and I had to do a lot of investigation myself. And I think that if I could go back in time, the biggest tip I would give myself is to just start writing for people, like get on Upwork and start writing, because that's when you start getting client feedback and you start understanding what they're really looking for versus just what you see online, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the reason I started this channel, because I want to do the reason I
Totally.
interview podcast or a YouTube show is because I didn't want to be one of the people that I wasn't getting results and I was trying to teach people how to
Mhm.
get results I wasn't getting.
Exactly. It's like, well, if you're so good, why don't you just go do copywriting and make money there? Like that seems easier. You know what I mean? Like all these people.
So I get
Like,
interview people that are actually getting results. And
yeah,
so
exactly.
far, this is my third interview, and actually I have three more lined up this week, which is a lot.
Awesome.
But so I can
Excited.
interview three people, and I could get say, so how would you go about getting clients? And I have three different people so far tell me what to do, and
Yeah.
it
It's
helps me
amazing.
out, and it helps anybody watching out.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to listen to it too.
So yeah, I'll send you the link to the first two, and uh,
Okay.
I'll tell you the other part later. Well,
Yeah.
I can't do it while recording.
But yeah, so that's starting out, it was, I mean, it was passable, but it was not to the level that it needed to be. And that's where everybody, you know, everybody has to start somewhere. But yeah, studying other copy and learning from my clients real time was what really taught me how to write.
Yeah, and that's good. And the person that when I finally found out I was decent at writing copy, we had everything templated. So there was like, it's for network marketing, and there's four pillars. I had to change the intellectual property, one of the pillars, and I had to come up with a story. And so then, but there was these two people. They were selling kind of like a crypto exchange thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they wanted different than the template. They said we don't want it to be like anything else. So we had to come up with something from scratch. I said, well, I'll try to do it. He said, we'll do it Thursday. I said, all right, well, I'll just go ahead and start writing and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I'll write this big, long piece of copy. And I sent it to him. I said, I don't know how this is. I've never wrote one by myself. He said,
Mm-hmm.
this is brilliant. So we sent it to the client, and they don't know anything about copywriting. And they destroy the whole thing and say, no, I want this to be here, this to be here. And I said, I don't know how to help you, man.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's something else really important about copywriting is realizing you're not just writing directly to the customer, you're also learning how to work with and please the person that's hiring you. And they don't always know how to market properly or the rules of copywriting, which is why they're hiring you in the beginning. But you have to learn how to essentially educate and teach the people that you're working for about why you've written what you've written and why it's effective. You know what I mean? Sometimes they don't understand.
Yeah, so he ended up having a Zoom call with him and saying, "Look, this is what we're going after." Because the story was kind of like, imagine if you had thousands of dollars in Bitcoin and then it crashed, because that is really what happened. And
Mhm.
they said we don't want to do that because it's too negative, and they, basically like that. So he just had to take him, put him, do a Zoom call with him and tell him
Yeah.
this is why we're writing it this way. And
Yeah.
eventually it worked out, and it made pretty good money. But
Yeah.
it kind of scared me because you create a masterpiece if somebody just takes it away from you.
Yeah, because they don't understand. Yeah, that's something that I have started doing with every piece of copy that I turn in is I create a document in Canva and I do like a very just brief mock-up with a template. And then on each one, there's a video recording presentation thing that you can do. And I just record myself talking and presenting and do like a 5-minute spiel on why I wrote what I wrote. And I rarely have people want to change it anymore because they understand the concepts of why I did what I did, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good idea because I guess it's better than trying to argue, not really argue with them, but it kind of is.
Right. Well, you address the arguments before they even start. I mean, it's basically copywriting to your client. You know, you're hitting on their pain points and explaining why they need what you've written.
So how many times, so when you write a piece of copy, how many times have you changed it? I know I kind of like sit on them at least overnight and come back to them and say, why did I write
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I will, I'm very particular and kind of a perfectionist, which can be great, but can also make it really difficult to be like, okay, I need to finish this in a timely manner, and to turn it in. So what I do is I take frequent breaks. So, like I'll work for, I think it's called the Pomodoro method or something, but I'll work for like 45 to 50 minutes, and then I'll take a 15 to 20-minute break, um, every single hour. And what that does is it helps me kind of take myself out of the, okay, I have to get this perfect and like I need to do this and this. It removes me from the current situation and I come back at it with fresh eyes every time. And then once I've got my first draft where I want it for the day, the next day, like you said, I'll come back and look at it again with really fresh eyes. And typically this is where I do my best editing whenever I've had the longest break from it.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I've never tried that, but I'm going to have to because I've heard a lot about it. I didn't know what the method was called. But another thing I like to do is I break them into sections. You know, like if you're writing
Yep.
a letter, you have your lead, then your story, and then testimonial, you know, this and that. I break them
Yeah.
into parts so that way I can just, it's easier for me to come back to and just look at it in sections.
Right. Yeah, totally. Do
And
you write
oh,
emails? Like you do like web pages and Instagram and Facebook ads and stuff like that, emails?
no, emails. I do like
Yeah.
doing emails, and they're kind of templated too. And one thing, the best thing I figured out is to create yourself a template, so you can always just kind of plug into the template.
Yeah, that's actually why I love Canva. Like anybody that hasn't tried Canva yet, I mean, it's not for everybody, but with copywriting, I feel like it makes it so much easier. So what I do is I work like with a Google Doc and a template at the same time. So you can just hit like, say, wellness website template. Like for example, I'm writing the homepage for a wellness website right now. And then that pops up, and then I can just, as I'm thinking of the concepts, have them on what looks like a website so I can see kind of what everything's going to look like together, because it's so hard to envision on a Google Doc. And then from there, that's what I also use to present to my customer. So it's kind of a double hitter, and it, for me, it really helps a lot because I'm very visual.
Okay, well that makes sense too because also a Google Doc, the format don't line up to the website.
No, it's just so bland. Like it's very much like coding, you know what I mean? Where it's like there's so much going on within the coding
Yeah.
that you don't see unless it's already there. And so yeah, it helps. I think a lot of copy too, like you really need to be able to visualize the way that the words sit on the page with graphics, because I feel graphics is like 60 to 80% of what's gonna be your marketing space a lot of time when you're working with home pages, especially with ads. Graphics take up a lot of space, so it's nice to be able to help your customer visualize that and help yourself visualize it as you work.
Yeah. So you do your own graphic design on it too?
Yeah, but it's on Canva. um, Graphic design is a personal interest of mine, and so like I said, it may not be for everyone. I kind of take to it pretty well, but like I said, there's templates. You don't have to do it yourself. Like you just click on a template and it auto fills everything for you, and you just change the words, you know what I mean? So
Oh, well, that makes sense because when I've tried Canva before and I just don't know what to do. You know, I'm like it gives you shapes and everything. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this triangle? You know?
yeah, it does take a little bit to get used to it, but it's not like Photoshop or anything like that, where or like Illustrator, where it takes like months to figure it out. Like if you sit on it for like 30 minutes to an hour, you're like, okay, this makes sense.
Well, I don't know if you play video games, but there's this one that's called Forza, or it's like a car game, and you can create your own designs and buy other people's designs. And people they start with like the same thing. It's a shape, and then they add more shapes. and they come up with these brilliant designs. I'm like, how in the world do they do that?
Yeah, I don't recommend spending too much time on your design because again, you're not, as a copywriter, that's not what your client's paying you for. But just having like a bare bones, just throw something up there is really nice.
Oh, I have done Fiverr gigs for it.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good way to diversify for sure.
Yeah. So if you need, like, it don't cost a lot. So, you're taking like what 1% of what you would have got paid to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point for people that don't want to use Canva or don't feel like they can do graphic design. That would be a great solution, is just to pay somebody a couple bucks on Fiverr and throw something up.
Yeah, and then also if you find somebody good, you could just keep the same person. So use that as
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
well, I like to be robotic, because a lot of people say that a long time ago when I first got into entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
the people were talking about having a doing everything the same thing every day. And I'm like, that sounds boring. I don't want to do that. And it just got so out of hand that eventually that's what I did.
Yeah, totally.
Because if not, you either won't do it or you're doing too much at one time. You know.
Yeah, batching work is way faster. Would you like me to talk about kind of how long it took me to get to where I mean, this is what I would have wanted to know. I've been thinking about what I would like to talk about. So I'm like, if I could go back in time, what would I want my 8 months ago self to know?
Yeah. So how long did it take, and what did you do to change your results?
Cool. So, it I was like reading the copywriter's handbook, learning on YouTube and TikTok, and I took a $15 Udemy course just for the basics to like, okay, here's what it is, here's a basic formula, just kind of get my feet under me. So I did that for 2 months. So learning was just 2 months. At the 2 month mark, I started applying on Fiverr and Upwork. And then it took about 2 months after that. I had a few free clients that I did work for free. But yeah, so 2 months after that is when I got my first Upwork client, and I never got anything from Fiverr. I don't know if it's effective, but I feel like Upwork is a little bit more effective. Um, and so yeah, so 2 months I started getting work on Upwork. I only got about like 3 jobs there, but then I started applying for copywriting internships part-time just on job boards on Google. And at month 3, I got a copywriting internship with a boutique marketing company. And that to me was like the biggest catalyst for my success, was getting in under somebody else who could guide me. And having access to so many different kinds of clients within their umbrella. And so then after that, that was a contract gig. It was only temporary for about 4 or 5 months. And in that time, I was able to go from copywriting intern to copywriting assistant, and I got a raise within there so I could leverage that into my current job, which is a copywriter for a wellness company. And then I do freelance clients on the side. And so after that, I started at the agency at month 3, and then was there for like 5 months, and then now got this job, and then was doing freelance clients in between. But yeah, that was basically it.
That's awesome because
Thanks.
people go for years without doing anything.
It was not easy. I definitely attribute a lot of it to having a portfolio with mock-ups. I think that gave me a little bit more credibility, and then also including some of my 5-star reviews from Upwork for social proof on my portfolio as well.
Okay. And have you ever heard of I know you've heard this before, but Robert Cialdini's the triggers, buying triggers?
Maybe remind me.
What is buying triggers? And one of them is like social proof, one of them
Yeah,
authority. But
yeah,
this is just my opinion, but social proof is the strongest one.
I agree.
So if you could get any kind of testimony, don't matter how you get it,
Yep.
testimony, it's like the biggest brand builder.
Yeah, I believe David Ogilvy, I don't know how you actually say that, Ogilvy,
Ogilvy,
from Ogilvy on advertising, he talks about how social proof is one of the, if not the single most important aspect of selling to people, because people will believe and trust people who they feel are peers over a business who's trying to sell them something.
And I've heard of I was on some podcast, I don't remember which one it was. Listen to it, and there was somebody his whole business is social proof. All he does is go out and find past customers and interview them and write down their results, and that's how he gets new customers.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense too.
Valuable.
So, do you follow any particular copywriters that you kind of copy their structure?
So I don't follow any particular ones. What I do though is look out just like in my day-to-day life for really striking copy. And then I go follow on LinkedIn everyone that works in the marketing department. So whether that's from the copywriter to the head of marketing, and I follow, I sign up for their emails, I check out their websites, I look at all their ads. Because if they're doing one well, they're typically doing everything really well. So I will follow businesses, but not people really.
Yeah. Or do you follow them on Facebook and kind of, you go to the ad library?
Yeah. One that I really like right now is Houseplant by Seth. Oh, what's the guy from
Seth Godin?
Is it Rogan? Okay.
Seth Godin.
Yeah, the funny guy from all the movies. Yeah. So he's got a company called Houseplant, and the marketing is absolutely incredible. Like they've got incredible sales funnels and email. Like it's from top to bottom incredible. Another one that I like, what was one I saw recently? There was another, Bloom. I posted in the copywriting subreddit recently about a Bloom advertisement that said, turn your screen time into serotonin.
I saw that.
Yeah, I was blown away by that copy. So businesses like that I'm like, okay, you guys are doing it right. I pay attention to.
Okay. I like that. It's just, you just kind of see it. I was talking on an interview. It's like you put the glasses over your eyes and now you can see the code.
Yeah, I mean, my husband is so annoyed with me all the time because we'll be watching a commercial. I'm like, that's bad copy. Like, they're not addressing pain points. Like, this is just too floofy. So yeah, I can definitely see it now and in my everyday life, where before I was just like, oh, that's just another ad.
Yeah, and I annoy myself with it too. I'm like,
yeah,
if they would do this, they would probably get better results. I'm like, am I a nerd?
I'm like, yeah, I'm a certified nerd and I don't care. I love it. It's so fun.
So, do you recommend any books?
Look, it's more of like, what do I not recommend, to be honest? Because the only two books that I read were the Copywriter's Handbook, right? And then half of Oglivio and Advertising that I'm still working through. And I think from what I've seen in the subreddit and across different boards talking about copywriting is that people get stuck reading too many books. I think that's the problem for a lot of people have, where it should be like, read those two, or even just the Copywriter's Handbook, take like a $15 Udemy course, don't spend more than $100, and find some free resources like the copywriting subreddit and just go do the thing. You know what I mean? That's going to teach you the most. But if I had to pick one, it would definitely be the Copywriter's Handbook by Robert Bly.
I agree with you on not buying so many books, which I've bought a lot of books, but because I figured out that I have like 30 books on a shelf that I read a quarter of.
Yeah, and a lot of them have the same information.
Yeah. So have you ever heard of who Bob Proctor is?
Is he a marketing guy? Sounds familiar.
Like a self-help kind of person.
Okay.
But he's one of the things that he said, I bought an audio book because I drive a lot. So so he said, instead of reading 1,000 books one time, read one book 1,000 times.
Yep. My books have I like everything is highlighted. I'm like, everything I pay close attention to. I went back over the Copywriter's Handbook twice, all of my highlighted pages. I just reread all the highlights. And I feel like that really solidified everything for me. It was just that.
Yeah, and it don't matter how many times you read it, you're always going to pick up something new.
Yeah. It's very much full. And I really only read up to where it starts talking about like specific kinds of copy, like sales letters, web pages, da 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 da. I really only read up to there before I started. After I got started, I finished reading it because it gives you all the basics. The rest is kind of just like, to me, optional. I didn't need all that because I could refer to other pieces of copy to show me like, what the structure was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like structure a lot. So I'll go. There's a couple different copywriters that I follow, and a couple different just marketers that I follow.
Mhm.
The ones that, you know how when they write copy so good that they give away so much stuff that you feel bad because they're giving you that. You know what I mean?
Free?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I mean, you basically bought what they wanted you to buy, but they gave you all this stuff for free, and I'm like, I feel bad about getting this stuff for free.
Yeah, books are so much better than courses. I honestly don't know that. I mean, I may get crucified for saying this, but I don't think anyone should be buying a course right up the gate. I think it's, if you want to do like the $1,000 courses, you should wait like a year.
I do too. And if you are going to buy a course, I'd recommend buying a challenge where you go through it with other people at the same time.
Yeah. Yes. Look for something with a community. I know Copy Hackers is really good if anyone's looking for something that's actually credible. Be very careful with the gurus. They don't always know what they're talking about. Do not do Hustlers University. It's a scam. That is not what you need. Um, Copy Hackers, and then I know that the copywriting Discord has, I think, a Patreon where they do that kind of stuff. I think there's one more, but I can't remember what it was. But Copy Hackers for sure is very reputable, and you can rely on their information.
Okay. And there's a copywriting Discord. I don't know if it's the same one you're thinking about, but there's one that it has a section about getting started, and it's really
Yep.
it's like step by step. Do this now, do this now, do this.
Yeah. For me, I personally have ADHD, and it took me a while to get through all that. They have a free 5-hour training on YouTube. I never made it all the way through to the end, but if you have a better attention span than me, I think it would be a wealth of information.
Yeah, I agree, and I do too. And eventually, I just want, you listen to, it's basically the basics, and I know the basics, but I'll still listen to it anyway. And
Yep.
I have to listen to it in pieces.
Yeah, yeah. I think they actually have it sectioned out, like for like I think hour by hour or by section, so you can come like finish one section and come back to it just like any other course. But it's just one long video that you can,
Yeah, and
your own pace.
it's the YouTube channel is Copy That.
Yes, copy that exclamation mark.
But I'll put the link to the video in this. But so what do people, if people want to find you, do you have stuff like a LinkedIn or something that you want to share?
Yeah, so it's just linkedin.com/Amy Leifeste. It's spelled Leifeste. My portfolio is also linked there if you want to check that out. It's been really helpful for me in getting jobs, and it's all mock-ups in Canva and some examples of my work. So if you want to like a good example of a portfolio, I feel like that might be helpful.
Okay, I'll put that in the comments. If you send me a link to it, I'll post it in
Yeah.
the description.
Sure.
So what happened? Are you still there?
Yep, still here.
Oh, I had a leak. Oh, Zoom was asking me to upgrade. But so that's what I wanted to talk about pretty much. And because I want to get people, you can hear eventually I want to have like 1,000 different ways for people to learn.
Yeah, this is I want to say kudos to you. This is a genius idea. It kind of takes what the copywriting subreddit is, which is like a bunch of different people with a lot of information and bringing it together to solve problems. And you're doing that, in audio form, and it's more specific, and you're getting to talk to people that, like you said, have already been successful in their field, with proven results, versus you don't know like who's on the internet commenting, you know what I mean, some advice. So I'm excited to listen back to all the rest of the interviews you do, and thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate it as a fellow copywriter.
You're welcome. Thank you for contributing. And
Absolutely.
one thing I like about this that I hate about Reddit is it picks a name for you.
I think you can change it. Although I agree, I don't. Some of the names that they've given me are questionable. So
My Reddit name, because I've never changed it. I guess I need to, but it's Optimal Tomato.
Oh, I think I've actually talked to you.
Yeah,
Um, that sounds familiar
yeah,
in the
because we
com.
were talking in Messenger before we started talking on email.
Okay, yeah. Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, because you said, remember, because it wouldn't go through.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But it's just funny reading some people's name.
I know. Mine, I think, is Pristine Age.
It's just funny to me. But I mean, it's aggravating too because it feels like I'm talking to nobody because,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's another thing too. You know, we were talking about people that you don't know if they're actually successful.
yeah.
In Reddit, like right here, I'm talking to you. I can see you and I know your name, but on Reddit, people have all these weird names that they didn't change, which I'm guilty of it too. That you don't know if you should listen to that person.
Exactly. Exactly.
But so well, that's it. And
All
oh,
right.
one thing I want to eventually what I want to do is because I bought the domain copynomics.com, and uh,
Awesome.
eventually I want to have like a resource where I could go through and like say you're trying to build a landing page.
Hmm.
There's all kinds of resources, like different types of them. And then when you get to the sales page part, same thing. There's different types of them. You just pick which type you want, and it'll give you a swipe for it. And the same thing with emails. So
That's a
that
great.
yeah, so that way, I mean, if somebody comes into copywriting and don't know what to do, I want it to be like a resource that you could, you know exactly what to do now.
Yeah. So kind of one big swipe file.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So eventually, I'm gonna get there. When I guess within half a year, I'll be there hopefully.
Well, awesome. I'll be keeping up with everything.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I'll see you. I'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.